Hi, I'm Rain.
And this is Ravenwind, and you're listening to the Feather and Bone podcast. Two witches talking about everything witchy and nothing at all.
Correct.
We haven't recorded a podcast in a hot minute.
It's been a while.
Yeah, because we've been pre-recording.
He laid on his toy and he can't figure out how to get to it. He was going like this.
It's like, what?
He was wallering back and forth like a beached whale. I would like one, yes.
Yes.
I'll be back. Continue.
So, while Rain is in the kitchen fixing...
a beverage.
An alcoholic beverage for both of us. Something to kind of pay attention to, like if you listen to this podcast, realize the very next podcast that you listen to the next week is going to be a 3-part series we're going to start, and it's two drunk witches talking about everything and nothing at all. We're going to give our opinion when no one asked for it. But today, of course, that's what every podcast is, so I don't know what I'm saying. Today's podcast, we are going to be talking about the Salem witch trials. It's something that a lot of people, everyone knows about it. Witches talk about it. I think some witches kind of go a little crazy, thinking that shit could happen to them again. It can't. But we're going to talk about it because it is important, because I would almost bet that none of those people were actually witches. And there's a lot of different stuff that kind of dug up on the internet. Here are the sources that I used.
I was going to say, at least they weren't witches in the way that the people thought they were witches.
Yeah.
Because apparently those people think that witches can do things that are ridiculous.
Yeah, like no one... Yeah, it's not Harry Potter, basically. Being a witch is not like Harry Potter. That's not the kind of, powers or whatever. So, my sources on this, Smithsonian... Oh, Jesus. I said Jesus instead of Jesus.
I kind of like that.
It's already starting, guys. We haven't even got into the meat of the podcast, and I can't fucking talk. SmithsonianMag.com. The name of the article in that was A Brief History of the Salem Witch Trials. And then List25.com, and this was 25 disturbing facts about the Salem Witch Trials. Factinate.com, 42 wicked facts about the Salem Witch Trials. And then historyofmassachusetts.org. So that's the resources. So the Salem witch trials occurred in colonial Massachusetts between 1692 and 1693. Now, to help you guys kind of imagine the time frame that we're talking about here, when this would have happened. That's like 73 years before the start of the American Revolution and like 40 years before George Washington was even born. So
people still didn't bathe regularly.
Yeah, like this was like a really long fucking time ago. Oh, that's nice. You know how I like my drinks.
We are drinking Kahlua and milk.
Yes.
So it's like getting a buzz off chocolate milk.
Yep.
It's great.
So it was basically, that was a really long fucking time ago. More than 200 people were accused of practicing witchcraft and 20 were executed. Now, the numbers are a little different. Like when I go through, there's some discrepancy a little bit. But the website that I found, what I'm going to assume is the most accurate count, was off the historyofmassachusetts.org website. But we'll get there. More than 200... Oh, I read that already. Eventually, the colony admitted that the trials were a mistake and compensated the families of those convicted.
How?
Monetarily. They were given money, and then like if their land had been taken, then the families were given back their property and paid. So several centuries ago, many practicing Christians and those of other religions had a strong belief that the devil could give certain people, known as witches, the power to harm others in return for their loyalty.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
I was on the phone with the devil last night, and he was like, "Bitch, you owe me. I'm not giving you shit."
I was going to say, I'm the only person you talked to on the phone last night.
Lucifer. What are you talking about? Like, besides my mother, you're the only person in bill collectors. Like, that's all I talk to is you, my mom, and bill collectors.
Mm-hmm.
A witchcraft craze rippled through Europe from the 1300s to the end of the 1600s. Tens and thousands of supposed witches, mostly women, were executed. So that was in Europe. Though the Salem trials came on just as the European craze was winding down, local circumstances that was happening at the time can kind of explain, why that happened. And if you think about it, it kind of makes sense that, like, over in Europe, they were having that problem. And then, like, by the time, because, back in the day, like, getting from the Europe to the Americas, I
wasn't going to say anything. You probably saw my face.
I did. You have one of the most expressive faces of anybody.
Wait till I get Botox later in the month.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be interesting.
Yeah. No one will know if you're mad, happy, sad.
I'll still be able to do mom face, though.
Yeah, because your mom face is pretty, like...
I showed you pictures from when I was, like, 5.
Yeah, you had that face when you were 5. But it kind of makes sense that, over in Europe that was happening. And then because it would take such a long time to travel by ship to the Americas. So it would make sense that it would take, by the time it was winding down over there, it was just getting started in America. But there was some other things that was going on at the time that kind of made it to where it was profitable to say that someone was a witch. In 1689, English rulers William and Mary started a war with France in the American colonies, known as King William's War to the colonists.
Never heard of it.
Yeah. It ravaged regions of...
What country were they from?
England. They were the English rulers William and Mary. And they started a war with France in the American colonies. And it was known as King William's War to the colonists.
I'm going to look it up.
You're like, I've never heard of this. And because you're like all about like European history and
I know.
Monarchs and stuff.
By the way, pick a time for me.
Oh, for you to pick up your stuff?
Yeah.
Based on what my time was?
Yeah.
It would have to be the very last one because I picked pretty late in the day.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyway.
King William's
We're
War.
just like going like we... We're not even, like, we haven't had a chance for the alcohol to even begin to make us tipsy, and we're already all over the place. The opinion podcast is going to be very interesting.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
We have a pizza coming, too. Anyway. So, it ravaged regions of upstate New York, Nova Scotia, and Quebec. And refugees would flee into the county of Essex, and specifically Salem Village in Massachusetts Bay. Salem Village is present-day Danvers, Massachusetts. Colonial Salem town became what is now Salem. So there's 2 different places. Okay, there was Salem Village, and then there was Salem town. Okay.
Okay.
And it's important to remember, too, that, like, even though it's called the Salem Witch Trials, like, it wasn't just specific to Salem. Like, it was a whole county. I mean, it was, like, pretty rampant. So the displaced people from that war created a strain on Salem's resources. This aggravated the existing feud between families with ties to the wealth of the port of Salem and those who still depended on agriculture. Controversy also brewed over Reverend Samuel Parris, who became Salem Village's first ordained minister in 1689. He was disliked because of his rigid ways and greedy nature. Like, he was pretty, I'm assuming that as, reverends from that time, even he was a hard ass. So I can just imagine, what he was like. The Puritan villagers believed that all of the quarreling that was happening between all the families and the people, the displaced refugees, was the work of the devil.
Of course.
Mm-hmm. So remember I just talked about old Reverend Samuel Parris?
Yeah.
Well, it was his daughter, Elizabeth, was one of the three girls who originally started all the mess.
Wait. So he wasn't Catholic. Never mind.
Yeah. No, Puritan. In January of 1692, Reverend Parris's daughter, Elizabeth, aged 9, and his niece, Abigail Williams, age 11, started having fits. They screamed, threw things, uttered peculiar sounds, and contorted themselves into strange positions. A local doctor blamed the supernatural. And isn't that just like a fucking doctor? Like, I don't know what's causing you to be sick and act this way.
You're like, goddamn doctors.
No, I have got an issue with doctors because I had a problem with my uterus like my entire fucking life. Like, from the moment I started a period until they took the fucking thing out, it was one thing after another. And I would go to doctors, and every doctor was like, you know what? I really don't know why you're having the problems that you're having. It must be your weight. They would blame everything on my weight. And then, like, when I finally got the hysterectomy, the doctor's like, you know what? You had, an abnormal uterus.
You had almost like a double.
It was double. I had 2 layers of endometriosis. So when one layer was shedding, the other one was building, and then it would shed. So I had a continuous, nonstop period. And he said that because it was anatomy, it wasn't like something that could be fixed with medicine or, nothing. He said the only cure, that's probably our pizza.
We should pause it.
We're going to pause. Okay, we're back. We've each had a slice of pizza. We're ready to carry on.
Back streets, back. All right.
See, and because I said carry on, so it popped in my head was like that Carry On My Wayward Son. I think mine's better.
Sure.
So we were talking about like how it started. So I was talking about my uterus, but anyway, the doctor said that the only way to fix that was a hysterectomy. So it was never my weight. All the other doctors were bullshit doctors and didn't know what the fuck they were talking about. Carrying on.
They do that with every person that's heavy.
Yeah, well, not only, like, I think anytime they can't find anything wrong with someone, they're just like, I have no answer, and I'm going to somehow blame it on you so it doesn't look like I wasted all my money on a medical degree.
Well, everybody that knows me knows I don't look like a heavy person.
Yeah.
But on the scale, I stay at like...
You're like solid.
Yeah, I'm like 176 to 178.
Yeah.
All the time. And so whenever they weigh me and measure me, my height, they're like, you're clinically obese. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
I buy my pants in the junior section.
Yeah.
Granted, it's the biggest size they've got. One of the biggest sizes, like 15.
Yeah.
Junior. But I'm not a big person.
Yeah.
But they still tell even me that I'm
they suck.
Obese. They do suck.
They suck. So anyway, the doctor, because he didn't know what could have been going on with those 2 girls and how they were having convulsions and shit, he's just like, it must be supernatural.
They needed to run some laps.
That's your answer for everything.
And it works. You have proof now.
Another girl, Ann Putnam, age 11, she experienced similar episodes. On February 29th, under pressure from magistrates John Corwin and John Hathorne, the girls blamed 3 women for afflicting them. Tituba, which was the Paris's Caribbean slave. That's the pastor that was talking about. It was his Caribbean slave. Sarah Good, a homeless beggar, and Sarah Osborne, an elderly, impoverished woman. So these girls blamed those 3 people. And, basically they said that, like, Tituba, like, the slave girl taught them, like, devil's work and stuff like that. An interesting... Poor Tituba. Actually, there's some interesting facts about Tituba that come back up later in the podcast. You're gonna root for old Tituba in the end. Interesting note, one theory about what caused the Salem witch trials is that many in the village suffered from ergot poisoning. Ergot is a fungus that affects rye grain in warm... Fungus! There's a fungus among us. That affects rye grain in warm and damp springs and summers. And that was something that was very common in Salem. Like, they were always having to try to find ways to protect their rye grain from this fungus. From fungus. The symptoms of, poisoning from that fungus is very similar, to what is described. Spasm, fits, hallucinations, delusions, vomiting.
I think they were just horny.
The girls?
Yeah.
You think they were just needing the D?
They wanted somebody to touch them where they pee.
Well, I know when I haven't had anyone touch me where I pee in a long time, I have convulsions and...
You spasm?
A spasm. It's like a Charlie horse. It needs to be rubbed. It needs to be rubbed out.
You need a sensual massage.
Oh,
Jesus, God.
So remember,
Jesus. Oh, Jesus.
Oh, Jesus. Jesus, help me. Hi, Mikey. He's like, I don't want to know what y'all are talking about. I'm just going to take my pizza and go. So remember those fighting families with ties to the Port of Salem that I mentioned, earlier. Well, besides torture... Earlier in the podcast. Besides torture and execution, land removal was another punishment. So many of the accused were landowners, and in some cases, rather than killing them, the government would take away their land. And be like, you're lucky we're not putting you on the gallows. We're just going to take your 40 acres.
Sounds a little shady to me.
Yeah. So all of those women that we talked about, like Tituba, Sarah Good, and Sarah Osborne, they were brought before the local magistrates and interrogated for several days.
Lots of Sarahs back then.
I think it was a common name.
It was probably a biblical name because there was a Sarah in the Bible.
Yeah, and they were Puritans, like very religious. So, starting on March 1st of 1962, 1692, Osborne claimed innocence, as did Good. Now, that's the two Sarahs. But Tituba confessed. She said...
Tituba said, fuck you!
Yeah. Tituba's like, life as a slave, death. Life of a slave, death. But... Tituba, she did confess, and this was pulled like directly from the historical documents, and this is what she said: the devil. Oh my god!
Goddamn devil!
We need to name my next cat Devil.
Oh god, I can't open my eyes.
We are lightweights.
We really are.
We are so okay. Well, you did that. It was pretty heavy, though. Like
I made it strong. It was only the glass was like half.
We're still on the first page.
It's not a little tiny glass, guys. It's a big, giant.
Yeah, it's like an iced tea glass. Anyway.
And I filled it halfway full with the liquor.
Well, I'll be ready for my second one.
Hand it over, woman.
Anyway.
Did you know, I've always heard if you drink alcohol through a straw, you get drunk faster.
Is that why you give us straws?
Yes!
Okay, the devil... Okay, this is what Tituba said.
It's the devil.
I just now stop laughing. Tituba said, the devil came to me and bid me serve him. She then described elaborate images of black dogs, red cats, yellow birds, and a black man with white hair who wanted her to sign his book. She admitted that she signed the book and said there were several other witches looking to destroy the Puritans. All three women were then put into jail based on Tituba's confession. But don't be mad at old Tituba. torture was used to get a confession from her. So, like, she was being tortured because she was a slave, like, and she wasn't, like, a lady in the community or whatever. So, like, they didn't care to torture her. Torture was a common practice during the trials. Usually it led to bizarre and fanatical confessions. It was after torture that she made her claims. So don't be mad at her. Like, she just had to do what she had to do to make a stop. So with the seed of paranoia planted, a stream of accusations followed for the next few months. Charges against Martha Corey, a local member of the church in Salem. Wait a minute. Yeah. What? Martha Corey, she was a local member of the church in Salem Village. Though the community was greatly concerned when she was charged because, like, she was, like, not only was she, like, a loyal member, but, like, she was very, like, in the public with her, devotion and with her religion. So they were like, if she could be a witch, then, like, anybody could be a witch.
You'll need to stoy it.
Stoy it?
That is the prissiest, snobbiest stir I have seen in my entire life.
Okay. So they were like, if Martha Corey, who was like, you see the church ladies, like the little old church ladies, that was Martha Corey.
You know who I'm thinking about?
Who? Oh, yeah. So if she could be a witch, then anybody could be one. So
if you know what, if
I'm leaning on my elbow. I need to stop that. I'll end up in traction again.
If she ever came to me and was like, "Hey, I want to be a witch," I'd be like, "No, fuck you," and I would put out to all
everybody,
my pagan friends.
You'd be like, "She's blacklisted." So yeah, so it was really, for them, like, that's when shit got real for a lot of people in town. Because up till then, it was the slave girl, and it was like the vagrant, and like.
So who accused church lady?
It didn't say who accused her. It just said that when it came out that she was accused, they were like, "What the fuck?" Magistrates even questioned Sarah Good's 4-year-old daughter Dorothy, and her timid answers were construed as a confession.
She was 4.
Yeah. Dozens of people from Salem and other Massachusetts villages were brought in for questioning. So then, on May 27th of 1692, not 1992, 16.
Wait.
Because remember earlier I said 1992?
62.
1692. Governor William Phipps ordered the establishment of a special court to hear and decide on cases of witchcraft for the Essex and Middlesex counties. The first case brought to the special court was Bridget Bishop, an older woman, and I wish I could have known Bridget, because she was known for her gossipy habits and her promiscuity.
She fucked around?
Yep.
And she was old?
Yep.
Well, old back then.
She was probably like 32.
Yeah.
Younger than me. How old am I going to be?
38.
I'm going to be 38. I always have to ask you, like, because I don't remember how old I am from year to year. Like, I never know.
You're 5 years younger than me.
Okay. That doesn't help me at all.
You don't know how old
You're
I am?
42?
3.
See? I don't know. When asked if she committed witchcraft, old Bridget Bishop, the town whore, responded. She responded, "I am as innocent as the child unborn." The defense must not have been very convincing, though, because she was found guilty, and on June 10th became the first person hanged on what was later called Gallows Hill. So she was the first one to die in the hysteria. Under English law, because remember, it wasn't America. Like, it was still, like, English, So under English law, we didn't exist yet. The the trials at Salem didn't work the way we think of trials today, with lawyers and strict rules about evidence. Often these trials would be heavily weighed against the accused, and as such, many saw the writing on the wall and they confessed. So, there was no lawyer that was going to plead their case. There was no, rules of evidence, nothing.
It was pretty much guilty until proven innocent.
Yeah, so a lot of people was like, you know what, I don't want to be tortured, so I'm just going to confess and say I'm a witch, Surprisingly, those who confessed to witchcraft, they didn't get executed. But the ones who refused were. Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah, it was England. I don't know. During the trials, many tests were created to determine if someone was a witch or not. And of course, we've all heard about the tests and everything.
Oh, it's just about the charger.
Oh, okay. You saw a thing come up and I was like, wait. Anyway. So there was many, and we've all heard about the tests and everything that, that they had. So, in this case, an accused person would have their finger tied to the opposite toe.
What?
So, let's say they took their right index finger and they would tie it to their left toe, on their left foot.
Okay.
And then they would be lowered into a body of water. If they floated, they were a witch. But if they sank, they were not a witch.
Everybody floats.
What's funny is you've never watched Stephen King's It. And that's a line from that's everybody floats down here. But anyway, the danger, of course, was drowning. If they left the suspect in the water for too long, they would drown. So, what they would do is they would tie you up like that and throw you in. And if you floated, they would haul you out, and then you were a witch, and you got put in the gallows.
Or you could drown.
Or if you sank, they would jump in to bring you out. But think about the time period. Women were wearing those great big dresses with all the layers and everything. So you would go to the bottom because it's just weight. And then some guy's going to have to try to pull you, and now your 80-pound wet dress, So they ended up drowning because the goal was to go in and bring them out, but most of the time they would. And then you got to think, too, if you're down there thrashing because you're dying, you're not going to be real cooperative with the person trying to bring you back up.
I want to know what idiot thought that witches floated.
Yeah.
And innocent people sank.
This next test, I did not know this, because everyone's heard about the water thing. Everyone's heard, they would throw them in tied up. I didn't know that it was a finger to the toe. I didn't know that part.
That's kind of...
Yeah. But this next test, I hadn't heard of this until I did the research. So another test involved creating a basic cake out of rye flour and the cursed person's urine. They'd feed the cake to a dog.
Poor dog.
And if the dog showed the same symptoms, then witchcraft was proven. Let that sink in for a second. One of the main, one of the theories is that it was that ergot poisoning from the rye flour.
Mm-hmm.
So they feed a rye flour cake to the dog, and if a dog started showing symptoms,
I think my dog could have handled it.
then it was proven,
He has a stomach of steel, doesn't he?
Yeah. So, so at that point, the dog would, reveal that person was a witch. And you may be like, why a dog? Why not a cat or a canary or any,
because a cat would be like, fuck you. I'll do what I want.
Cat's like, I'm not eating that. Dogs will eat anything. But apparently they believe that dogs had a close association with the devil. So, and, sadly, animals were not excused from the trials.
What?
Yeah, like we said before, dogs were suspect of potentially being linked to the devil or of being the devil himself. In one case, a girl accused a neighbor's dog of bewitching her. The villagers executed the dog with a firearm.
Hey, I gotta tell you something. In that movie, The Scarlet Letter, with Demi Moore.
Oh, yeah.
Gary Oldman
Yes.
So fucking hot.
You and I have a thing for Gary Oldman.
I love that man.
I think the only thing I ever saw him in where he was not attractive to me was like The Sixth Sense. No, The Fifth Element.
Yeah, he looked kind of dorky.
He did. Like the haircut and that plastic thing he had to wear on his head. And
yeah. But when I see pictures of his wife, I get so angry. I'm like, he would love me. That man would worship me. He needs to be with me. I love Gary Oldman. Oh, and when he played Sirius Black.
Oh, yeah. I think that's like the sexiest I've ever seen him.
Oh, yeah.
You want to know someone that is like, that I couldn't believe it was the same actor? He plays one of the crazy vampires in Twilight, Arrow.
Yeah.
And then you see him as the wolf in Underworld.
Right?
What the fuck?
Right?
He was so good looking as the wolf in Underworld.
Oh, he was hot.
He was like dirty. Looked like he'd been working all day.
Yeah.
You know?
A nap.
Like his hair was all long and shaggy and shit.
He's in that new... my husband and I watched the first season all in one day the other day. It's called Good Omens on...
Yeah, I wanted to watch that.
So
is it
good.
I'll check it out.
It is really good.
I'll check it out.
And John Hamm plays the angel Gabriel.
Oh, yeah.
And anybody who knows who John Hamm is knows he's hot as fuck.
Yeah.
Do you know who he is?
I do.
Really?
Yeah. You're like, usually you don't know. So anyway, they killed this poor dog with a gun because they thought it was the devil. And there's a
the
devil. There's a priest who we're going to hear about a couple times now called Cotton Mather. He claimed that the animal wasn't the devil because the devil wouldn't have died. So he waited until after the animal was dead before he was like,
I can't get over trying to imagine his wife in the bedroom.
Oh, Cotton.
Oh, Cotton.
Oh, Cotton. Well, but they were Puritans, so she was probably like fully clothed.
With a hole cut out in her skirt.
And her head turned to the side and not making a sound and not moving. Stiff as a board. Anyway. Another test was the touch test.
Oh.
No, it's not that kind of touch. With this test, it was believed while the inflicted person was having a fit, if the witch would touch them, the fit would stop.
That's so stupid.
So they'd have the accused touch those having fits to see if the fits would stop. So as you might suspect,
if they're faking it, they're just going to fucking stop.
Once the accused touched those inflicted, the fits would stop, and they'd point to the accused and call them a witch.
You know what they should have done? Blindfolded the bitch on the floor gyrating.
Yeah.
And had like 5 different people touch her.
Yeah, and see which one. But then, like, what if one of the people was like had nothing to do with it?
I hope one of them was the judge.
Oh yeah, well, we get to that later too. The devil's mark was also used as a way to identify a witch. The mark could be anything from a scar to a birthmark to a lesion from some disease.
Well, minus the disease lesion.
Yeah,
I'm fucked because I've got several little birthmarks.
Well, and it's an interesting fact because, like, right before the witch trials started, the Salem, that area was hit by smallpox. So, like, a lot of people had scars and lesions and stuff from disease. So you had smallpox. You know?
I got nothing.
Yeah. Eventually, rather than accusations made by others, the trials spawned real-life witch hunters going door to door and asking people to rat out their neighbors. Naturally...
Oh, you know who I'd turn in?
Oh, yeah. Naturally, this only added fuel to the fire, scaring many people, causing them to accuse others of witchcraft as well. They would use their dreams as evidence of their neighbor's guilt, and this caused things to spiral even more out of control.
Really?
Yeah, so, like, they would, you know... So you gotta think about, like, just the landscape at the time. And, like, people are scared. Like, there's people being, you know, killed on Gallow Hill. And so it's going to be in your dreams. Like, you're going to be dreaming about it. So then here comes these guys door to door. We're witch hunters. And you say, well, I had a dream and my neighbor looked at me funny yesterday. She must have made the dream.
Hey, you know the crazy fucked up dreams I have.
Yeah, you'd be dead. But, you know, not everybody bought into the validity.
What was it I dreamed night before last or yesterday when I took a nap?
Someone threw
I dreamed a military person
Yeah.
stole my favorite pillow and threw it over the New River Gorge.
Yeah.
Into the water.
And you were all pissed.
I was pissed, so I was chasing him with an assault rifle.
And then I woke up at 3:30 in the morning, literally saying out loud, palliative care.
What is that?
It's like when someone's sick and you're taking care of them. It's palliative care. Anyway.
You're not taking care of their palate?
Not I haven't been cooking a lot lately. Not everybody bought into the validity of the trials. For example, one woman often spoke up against the examinations and tried to convince others to stop, going to them. Because it became this whole big public thing. Like, they didn't have television and shit. So, hey, they're questioning, They
didn't even have a radio.
Yeah, they're questioning Sarah down in the middle of town square. Let's go watch that.
They were so fucking bored.
Yeah. But unfortunately for her, this put a target on her back, and many pointed at her as a witch, thinking she was obstructing the trials.
Who?
I don't have her name. Oddly enough, when she stood trial for being a witch, even her husband testified against her and called her a witch.
My ex-husband would call me a witch.
Yeah, he did.
They already tried.
Yeah, in court. That's great. You had your own witch trial.
I did.
And the judge was like, I don't care.
They're like, read the Bill of Rights, idiot.
Thomas Mall, a Quaker who found himself at odds with the Puritan community at times, was beaten and imprisoned for speaking out against the trials, despite the fact that he himself believed in witches. So he was like, listen, no, I believe in witches. I just think y'all are crazy right now. Like, there's no way that there's this many witches going on. It got so out of control that the respected, remember we talked about the Cotton, the Minister Cotton Mather?
Oh, Cotton!
Yeah. It got so out of control that even Cotton Mather wrote a letter imploring the court not to allow spectral evidence. And that's like the testimony about dreams and visions. Because he was like, listen, we have no way, like, someone has a rash, that's evidence. Someone's cow dies, that's evidence.
I feel sorry for anybody that had eczema.
Yeah. The court largely ignored this request, and 5 people were sentenced and hanged in July. 5 more in August, and 8 in September. On October 3rd, following in his father's footsteps, Increase Mather, Cotton and Increase Mather. He was then the president of Harvard. He denounced the use of spectral evidence as well, and it's actually written in the records. He said, "It were better that 10 suspected witches should escape than one innocent person be condemned."
So, like, during sex, if someone was screaming,
"Oh, increase!" He just kept going faster and faster.
Her brains would literally get fucked out.
Oh God! Well, he would. And what's funny is he would probably go faster and faster until he nutted, and then he would go and turn her in as being a witch because she was obviously enjoying the sex.
Was that a sign of witchcraft?
Mm-hmm.
What?
Yeah, like being a woman of loose morals.
So enjoying sex, even with your husband.
Yeah. Because it's not a pleasurable thing; it's for procreation only.
Now there was a lot of masturbation going on.
Yeah. But wait.
What?
Old Cotton Mather, because
Increase's son.
Father. Cotton
was his son.
Cotton was the dad.
Oh, whoa! Wait.
Cotton
was the dad.
Cotton was the dad who was the priest.
And so he was old as fuck.
And Increase was his son, who was the president of Harvard at the time. But he, because he wrote a letter and he was like, hey.
He was white, wasn't
he? He does say that all the time. That's one of the things I say, like, I'm white and I'm angry. I'm going to write a letter. But anyway. Because remember, he was like,
this is going to be a 2-part thing, right?
No, I'm pretty sure we're going to do it. No, we're only 39 minutes in. You got to think, we took a break to eat pizza.
Okay.
That's why it seems so long. Unless my timer's messed up again. No, it's going. But anyway. Because remember, he was like, he implored the court, Cotton did, and he was like,
Hey.
No, he was like, listen, don't listen to dreams and visions and stuff, because there's no way to prove it. But he wasn't innocent. Like, even though he wrote that letter, he was not innocent in this mess. Right before the witch trials took place, like I said earlier, a smallpox outbreak spread through the town of Salem. This only added to the brewing hysteria. He actually accused Martha Carrier of starting it through witchcraft, calling her a rampant hag and the queen of hell.
Jeez.
Through though historical documents show she was merely independent-minded and unsubmissive. And actually, that's the woman whose husband, I'm pretty sure, don't hold me to that, but I'm pretty sure that's the woman that was like, guys, like, stop going to him. It's ridiculous. Her husband, like, testified against her. I may be wrong. We'll get there.
I would have been fucked.
Another one of the turning points in ending public support and enthusiasm for the trials was the conviction and execution of one of the town's former ministers, George Burroughs. So he was convicted and killed, and then afterwards people were like, wait a minute.
Why? Because it was a dude?
Yeah, and he was a former minister. And the reason that they were like, wait a minute, was because during his execution, he recited the Lord's Prayer. And many people believe that, that would be impossible for a witch to do. That the witch shouldn't be able to say the... And you're like, this witch knows all the prayers. So they were like, oh my God, we just killed him, and he said the Lord's Prayer, like, while we were killing him. This is getting out of hand now.
We're assholes.
Yeah. So Governor Phipps, in response to Mather's plea, which is Cotton's plea, more importantly, because he tried to say that, like, because he changed, like, at this point, the governor, he steps in and he changes shit. He tried to say it was because of Mather's plea, the Cotton's plea. But what really happened was his wife was questioned for witchcraft. So he prohibited further arrest, released many accused witches, and dissolved the court on October 29th. But that wasn't the end of it. What he did is he replaced it with another court, which disallowed the spectral evidence and only condemned 3 out of 56 defendants. Phipps eventually pardoned all who were in the prison on witchcraft charges by May 1693, but the damage had been done. 25 people lost their lives because of the trials. 19 were hanged by prosecutors, and 5 died while serving time in prison. 2 of those 5 were babies.
Wait.
Mm-hmm.
They accused babies?
Well, I don't know if they accused babies or the women that they accused either had little babies that they had to nurse or give birth while they were in there. But 2 of the babies died while they were in there. And then a 70-year-old man was pressed to death with heavy stones.
That's fucked up.
In the end... Oh, wait a minute. You're not going to think it's fucked up in a minute. I think of all the people who died, he's probably the only one that deserved it.
What'd he do?
We'll get there. In the end, nearly 200 people overall had been accused of practicing the devil's magic. That 71-year-old man that got pressed to death?
What'd he do?
He was a successful farmer named Giles Corey.
Probably Giles.
Whatever. They put him on his back and placed a wooden board on him, and then gradually placed heavy stones on top, crushing him to death. His last words were, "More weight." So they would put a stone, he'd be like, "More weight." Put
He's
a
like,
stone.
Fuck you and your
Yeah.
rocks.
He's like, I'm 71. Like, I should not still be alive right now. But anyway, don't feel sorry for him. Remember the woman that we talked about where her husband testified against her?
Yeah.
That was him.
Oh.
He testified against his wife so that she was found guilty of witchcraft. And then they eventually turned it on him. And another interesting thing is, like, both him and his wife, like, don't feel sorry for his wife either. Because, like, in their history, like, when I was reading about them, like, they murdered somebody.
What?
Like, together. And the reason, like, nothing, they had to pay a fine, and that was it, because it was just a farmhand.
That's fucked up.
Yeah, they're pretty fucked up. So, after hearing all that, do you need some sort of good news, or at least a heartwarming tidbit of information?
If there is one.
There is. How about a story of love and sacrifice? John.
Sure.
You're like, there was love and sacrifice in the trials? Sure there was. John Proctor's wife, Elizabeth, had been accused of witchcraft, and John tried to step in to defend her. This resulted in him being accused as well, and in the end, it was he who was executed, while Elizabeth was instead sentenced to prison so that her unborn baby would not have to die.
Her unborn baby.
Unborn baby. So he was like, I'm not going to allow them to kill my wife. She's pregnant with my child. He tried to defend her. And in the end, he was the one executed so that she could live and give birth to their baby. It's pretty goddamn romantic.
I'd be bad if I had to give birth without the man responsible for it there.
Okay, be dead or be a widow. Be dead or be a widow. I'd rather be a widow.
Remember who you're talking
Yeah.
to?
Remember old Tituba?
Yeah.
So, she's the slave who admitted to being a witch just to stop herself from being tortured.
You should have named one of your pets Tituba.
Tituba? Maybe the next cat will be Tituba.
What about Davil?
Tituba instead of a Star Trek name?
Yeah.
Because I do have Cricket, and that's not a Star Trek name. But the other three are all from Star Trek.
I wonder if we could throw Davil in there somehow.
Oh, would it be Davil Butters or Butters Davil?
I don't know.
For those of you who don't know, okay, I'll get back to Tituba in a second. For those of you who are not aware, Rain has found herself the mother of a brand new baby kitten.
Unwillingly.
It was at Beltane, in which, by the way, we had a fan-fucking-tastic time at Beltane besides it being too hot.
It was abnormally hot.
Yeah, I got lightheaded and stuff. It was pretty bad. And I hurt my elbow. But anyway. So there was a lady at Beltane giving out kittens. And I think she was with some type of rescue group or something. I don't know. So your daughter goes and she's like, oh, like any child would. Like,
yeah.
Oh, kittens. And your daughter said to her, I have to ask my stepdad.
Yep.
Let me take this kitten with me so no one else takes it. And the woman's like, fine. He says no, just bring it back. Well, by the time she got back around to us,
we were clear across on the other side.
Yeah, of the field. Yeah. So and she was looking at stuff and everything. So by the time she got back around to us, your husband had already helped us set everything up, and he went to the truck to go to sleep. He had just come off
a 24-hour shift.
A 24-hour shift on the ambulance. So he was sleeping in the truck.
Yeah.
And you were like, don't go wake him up.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to be here really to help us today.
Yeah.
Let the man sleep. So by the time he wakes up and comes over and says what we all knew he was going to say, which was no to the cat.
Yeah.
You and your daughter took the cat back to give it, and she refused to take it.
Yeah.
Refused to take that cat back.
You want to know what her reason was? Because she had already thrown away the free kitten sign.
Yeah. Like, okay, you don't have to just take it back with you. Like,
She flat out refused to take the kitten back.
So here you and the offspring come back. And your husband's giving you a look.
Oh, he was.
Because, you were supposed to not come back with a cat.
Thankfully, Fallon was with me as a witness.
Yeah.
Even Fallon, and Fallon will tell somebody off.
Yeah.
Even Fallon was just standing there staring at her dumbfounded.
Like, I don't know what to say.
Like, what?
Why, you're not going to take a cat back?
Yeah.
So, pretty much all day, we had this kitten with us, and we didn't know what we were going to do with it. And, your husband, being a man, was like, we'll just leave it in the park. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't, and another thing, like Butters, and she named the cat Butters. Butters was not big enough to be left. She shouldn't even been given to anybody.
There was no way that kitten was 8 weeks old. No way.
Wasn't really able to eat hard food. I mean, anything.
She still tries to nurse on my clothes.
Yeah. So. And
I've never had a kitten try to do that.
So I basically was like, listen, we can't leave the cat in the park. Like, one, you can't leave a cat in a park. Like, the park won't allow us to come back if we leave kittens everywhere. Mm-hmm. But two, it'll die. So I was like, if he absolutely, because we were hoping at that point you guys could still talk him into letting you keep it. Mm-hmm. But we were like, if he absolutely will not allow you to keep it, like, I was like, I will take it. I don't know what I'm going to do with another cat because I have 3 and a dog. But I was going to be driving by myself. There was no way I could bring it. So you guys had to bring it home because I couldn't drive with it. And then it just never left your house.
We knew that was what was going to happen.
Yeah. And it was so sweet because it was your birthday. And when your husband signed the birthday card, he always puts the pets' names, and he wrote Butters on the card. So, like, that was the moment you knew.
I was like, guess what?
Like, success. But anyway, so Tituba. She was, she's the slave that, admitted to being tortured and kind of admitted to being a witch because she was tortured, and it set the whole thing off. She ultimately survived and was not put to death.
I think you would have been like Tituba. You'd have been like, you know what? Fuck you.
Yeah.
I did it.
Since she confessed, her case never went to trial, and she was spared the gallows. She remained in jail. But as the witch trials continued, she retracted her confession, admitted that she had lied to protect herself. That action really had little effect on everything that happened, and it was actually lost in the rush. Like, no one ever really said anything. There was only one person who made note of that, and that was Robert Califf, and he made the note that said, the account which he's referring to Tituba, the account she since gives of it is that her... yeah, they talked weird back then.
Gosh.
The account she since gives of it is that her master did beat her and other ways abuse her, make her confess and accuse, such as he called her sister witches, and that whatsoever she said by way of confession or accusing others was the effect of such usage. So basically what he was saying, it was that, like, she was pretty severely beaten and abused by her owner.
Hey.
And if you think about who her owner was, it was his daughter and his niece were the 2 girls. So either they were being affected by someone else, or, I didn't even notice that you brought me pizza. Thank you. So, for him, like, he had to think, okay, either my daughter and my niece are the witches, and that's why they're acting this way, or someone is doing it to them. So he beat his slave until his slave, admitted.
Hey. There's 2 pieces left.
Yes.
The one that's fucked up will be my last piece because some of it came off attached to this one.
I don't think it really matters, but okay.
I didn't want you to walk in there and be like, what the fuck?
Yeah. So basically, so this guy, the Robert Califf, he was like, listen, Tituba just said what she said because she was being tortured. So on May 9th of 1692, a grand jury in Ipswich, declined to indict Tituba they wrote ignoramus on her paperwork, indicating she was found not guilty due to lack of evidence.
That's funny because my grandfather calls people ignoramuses.
Yeah.
Goddamn ignoramus.
So how old is your guy?
He's almost 100.
He's pretty old. So while popular myth points to burning witches at the stake, no one was executed this way during the Salem witch trials. Though some were burned at the stake in Europe, hanging was the popular mode of execution in North America. So there was no burning at the stake in America, in the Americas. It was they were hanged. That always gets me when you're talking about hanging someone. It's they were hanged instead of hung. It just gets me.
And we'll talk about people being hung.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I bet you old Gerard Butler's hung.
Even if he wasn't, I'd be okay.
I'd be okay with it.
Yeah. Anyway, so what group was behind this whole sorry mess? The Puritans.
I'm so shocked.
They came over to him, and it's kind of ironic because they came over to America to escape religious persecution back in England. So, because of the similarity in time period, location, and story, People often mix up the Puritans with the Pilgrims, and of course they were a group of Dutch settlers who created what we, now today know as the holiday of Thanksgiving. And I'm not going to get into
Actually, the Pilgrims started out in England. They tried to settle
yeah,
in another country where they speak Dutch.
yeah,
It didn't work out, so they came over here.
yeah. But I'm not going to get into the whole Thanksgiving is really just a massacre of Indians. That's a whole other podcast. I'm not going to do that. So
I wasn't there.
yeah,
So I don't know.
you don't care. So do you want to know how crazy these Puritan bastards were?
How crazy were they?
Pretty fucking crazy. Despite their obvious Christian commitment, the early American Puritans actually banned Christmas in the Massachusetts Bay Colony in 1956.
Why?
Well, and I think that was 33 years before the witch hunt madness, okay? But they deemed it like a pagan type holiday, which of course it is.
They were actually correct.
They were. They said it was sacrilege. They felt that giving gifts took away from one's ability to focus on serious religious thought, and they did not like the pagan origins of some of the aspects of the holiday.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You're like, I kind of like Puritans now.
I might have to bring that up to my family members.
Yeah. Following the trials and executions, many involved, like Judge Samuel Sewall.
That's a pepper.
What?
Look at that.
Where?
The green thing.
It was an accident.
Not acceptable.
Okay, anyway.
We paid a lot for this specialty pizza.
Judge Samuel, and it's either Sewall or Seawall, but anyway, he publicly confessed error and guilt.
I even taste pepper.
On January 14, 1697, the General Court ordered a day of fasting and soul searching for the tragedy of Salem. In 1702, the court declared the trials unlawful, and in 1711, the colony passed a bill restoring the rights and good names of those accused and granted £600 restitution to their heirs.
You know what they should have done? Like Game of Thrones, where they made Cersei walk through the town going, shame, shame.
Yeah.
That's what they should have done.
However, it was not until 1957, and I got that one right, 1957, more than 250 years later, that Massachusetts formally apologized for the events of 1692. In August of 1992, to mark the 300th anniversary of the trials, Nobel laureate Ellie Weissel dedicated the Witch Trials Museum in Salem. Now, if you don't know who Ellie Weissel is, he was a survivor of the Holocaust. He was at the infamous Auschwitz prison. Prison camp. Also in Salem, the Peabody Essex Museum houses the original court documents, and the town's most visited attraction, the Salem Witch Museum, attests to the public's enthrallment with the 1692 hysteria.
I wouldn't have left my house.
Yeah. Well, then they would have said, there was no, besides going to church, but even that one lady that was a really strict church lady, she was even, they were like, holy fuck, she's a witch.
Yeah.
There was really nothing you could do. You were only marginally safer if you were a man. If you were a woman back then, just be ready to be hanged. Just be ready for it.
I was just sitting here thinking how I would kill people if they were trying to hurt my boomy.
Yeah. You're like, you can't feed my dog piss cake.
They'd be like, your dog's a warlock. I'd be like, fuck you.
No one would ever look at that dopey face and think the devil. Look at his tail.
He's waiting for you to eat yours, seeing if you'll give him your crust.
I eat my crust, bitch.
You can't call Boomy bitch.
He is a bitch. He's bitch.
He's a boy. She's clapping her own hands. She just high-fived herself. Wow.
Yes. I gotta pee so bad.
Me too. I'm afraid to get up and walk.
I know. I think if I get up and start walking, I'm going to get real lightheaded.
I am, and I'm sitting.
I'm a
down.
little lightheaded. Yeah. We'll That's our second drink. We're going to have to have a third. I'm going to eat more pizza. And then we'll start on the next 3-part series. I think by the time we get into that third recording, it's going to be ridiculous. But anyway. You can find us on the internet. At featherandbone.net.
You spell out the word and.
Yeah, feather
A-N-D.
and bone.net.
Yeah, like saying and
slowly
lets them know.
There you can get access to this podcast, obviously.
We have a Facebook
group, lessons, our shop, all kinds of neat information on there. So go check it out. Join the Facebook group. When you look us up on Facebook, it's Feather and Bone. And there's a couple of different Feather and Bones. Ours, the picture is like a white picture with a black, like, feather and antler type stuff. But
is that what it looks like?
It does. So join the group.
But isn't there a link to our group on our website?
There is. The link to the Facebook group is on the featherandbone.net. Join our group. It's fun. This is Ravenwind. Your name is Rain.
Rain.
Remember,
it's
magic, motherfuckers.